Integers are positive and negative counting numbers, as well as zero. So all of these numbers here on the number line are integers, but it keeps on going in both directions. So here's a few more examples of integers in green. So all of them are like a whole number, positive or negative. So there's no fractions and no decimals. Okay, so these ones in red here are not integers because they're either a fraction or a decimal. So just because this first one here has a negative does not make it an integer. Okay. All right, so an integer can represent a quantity, which is how much or how many, or it can represent a positive or negative change. So an example is 25 feet below sea level. That would be negative 25 because it's below the sea level. All right, to lose 15 pounds, that would be negative. 4 degrees below zero would be negative 4. A pay raise of $2 would be positive 2. Now, if an integer is negative, you have to put the negative sign. But if it's positive, you don't need to put a positive or a plus sign in front. It's just implied that it's positive unless we say it's negative. And a temperature drop of 30 degrees would be negative 30. All right, so looking at the number line, if you're going to the right, the numbers are going to get larger and larger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, they're getting larger and larger. But as you go to the left, the numbers are getting smaller. So negative 6 would be smaller than negative 5 because it's further to the left. All right, so if we're going to compare two numbers, let's start with these first ones in blue, 3 and negative 5. I plotted both of those numbers on the number line. 3 is bigger than or greater than negative 5 because it's further to the right on the number line. Also because a positive is always greater than a negative. So 3 is greater than negative 5. If we compare negative 6 and negative 2, I plotted both of those. Negative 2 is further to the right, so negative 2 is greater than negative 6. That also means negative 6 is less than negative 2 because the smaller numbers are to the left. So that one would look like this. Okay. You can also think of the alligators if that's helpful, and it's going to eat the number that is further to the right. It's going to eat the bigger number. All right, negative 1 and negative 3, I plotted those here. Negative 1 is further to the right, so negative 1 is greater than negative 3. So that's how we would compare those. And lastly, we might have to order numbers from least to greatest. So you'd want to imagine where those numbers would be on a number line or sketch out a number line. And then whichever one is further to the left, oops, I should probably ungroup that. All right, so this point is furthest to the left, so that one is the least. Okay, then next would be negative 1. And then next would be 0, and then 2, and then 5. Okay, so least is the one that's furthest to the left. Greatest is furthest to the right.